So I do apologize for the lawnmower noises over there. Somebody's using a lawnmower. But anyway, I wanted to make a video. I'm sitting out here in my treehouse wearing my Nintendo hoodie that I've got. I've had this hoodie ever since like 2003, and I put it on, and it was so small, like it was like this, right? And I felt really dumb, and I actually tore the hoodie to where the hood actually had a little bit more space. I felt like my face was getting like photoshopped on, and I looked like E.T. Whenever they were taking him around in the basket. I never watched the movie, but I saw the picture. So anyway, guys, I wanted to talk to you all today about stream personas and pretty much how they function and how they fit into streaming. There's a lot of people that I guess get the wrong idea about this, and I wanted to make a video and kind of set the record straight. If this is any louder, I might have to actually stop the video. But anyway, so stream personas is something that people kind of use in order to create a shield from criticism from their audience, so their actual personal self isn't necessarily being criticized, and it's also just kind of a performance persona that's separate from the persona, or like basically how they act in real life. Now, I think a lot of people get the idea with this, and they feel like it is disingenuous. They feel like people are effectively lying, and of course they are, right? But people are lying in all kinds of different ways. People are lying by wearing makeup in a certain way. People are lying by even wearing clothes. The way that you act around your grandma is probably a lot different than the way that you act around your friends. You go to a party, you're not going to act like you went to a funeral. Okay, so I think that there is a certain level of fakeness that I would consider toxic and not really as acceptable as others. But for the most part, I think it's good to be a little bit separate and a little bit different than how you actually act in real life. There's a number of reasons for that. Most of the time, people who in real life are a little bit more boring, right? And you obviously want to entertain people and make sure people have a good time. So, the way that I kind of do this is that I kind of just dial things up to 11. And I don't necessarily, I'm not a different person whenever I stream. I just act, it's like I act like the most, not spastic, but like kind of sporadic and aggressive and like kind of crazy and I don't really know, sporadic version of myself, right? It's not necessarily a different person, it's just more or less an accentuated personality. And that's something that I do. Other people do something that's completely different. They act 110% different. You have people, obviously, that put on characters like Dr. Disrespect, but you also have people that just pretty much go on and just act like themselves, and they're just pure gameplay streamers. I think a lot of people like that. Obviously, they don't really get a lot of hate because if you don't really put a personality out there, people aren't really going to hate you a lot. They might say that you're boring, but that's pretty much where the conversation and the criticism is going to stop and begin, right? That's pretty much it, right? I mean, unless you're sitting around like just casually giving your opinions about, well, Hitler wasn't really that bad, people aren't really going to care that much, right? But if you do, if you do put a lot more of your personality and everything into your streamings and into what you do, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to react badly to that. And the only way to make sure that people don't criticize you is to be nobody. And my my take on this is that I have no problem being criticized. I really don't care at all. But I also, it helps me deal with that criticism and compartmentalize the criticism whenever I look at myself as an outside entity, right? I don't necessarily separate Zach, me, Zach, from Asmongold, which is also me, right? But also, if people are criticizing my outward persona and my performance persona, it's a little bit different than if they're criticizing me as a person. And if people criticize me as a person, it doesn't really bother me a lot because they don't really know me. They just know, this window of things that they have been shown by me, and then they're drawing conclusions or just making their opinions off of that. So this is not something that I would really get angry that somebody would not like me for or whatever, because in general, they probably don't know what they're talking about. And I mean that in not a rude way or anything. I just mean that, they don't know me in real life. So, to them, this might not make sense, or I might be a bad person for this or a good person for this, but you don't really know me, right? In terms of what I do online and how I act online is a completely different story. I look at myself as a third party in a way. And that helps me deal with criticism and react to it and reflect on it in a much more objective way. And that's helped me a lot over the years in terms of being able to deal with the internet in general. I mean, obviously, people are dicks on the internet, everybody knows that, and they always will be. You know, all of this talk about, you know, preventing harassment and, oh, we're going to bubble wrap everything, that's never going to happen, right? At the end of the day, one of the worst things that can happen to you is to be ignored. And you can never stop that from happening. At the end of the day, guys, I said that twice, but it is kind of actually at the end of the day. So I feel like you have to build a thick skin. And one way to do that is to create kind of an effigy of yourself, or kind of, if you play WoW, you know, it's like there's you and then there's a target dummy of you, right? And so people aren't attacking you, they're attacking the target dummy, right? And that's something that I think can help a lot of people out in terms of dealing with harassment. And also, you know, like here's one thing that I do, right? And why personas are useful is that you can also do it the other way, right? Is like you think about somebody who's talking shit, you know what I mean? It's like you know, it's some like 14-year-old kid wearing a Supreme t-shirt that he saved up his allowance from his mom for like 2 months to buy at the mall, and he wears it every single day to school, and he has like, you know, skater shoes on, and he's like 85 pounds. Like, who gives a fuck? Or like, let's say it's some 28-year-old dude sitting in his room with like Cheeto dust in between his keys, and he's fat, he's not even wearing a shirt, maybe he's wearing a wife beater and his underwear, right? And he's typing out that you're a loser. Who gives a fuck? You know, like, that's the way that I look at it. And so I feel like kind of looking at things from a I guess like a removed perspective, if you look at it from like, you know, it was like you and the persona, it helps a lot in terms of dealing with not really having to take criticism and take people disliking you as personally, because it is you, but it is an element of you. I think there's a quote that says that there's the face that you show to the world, there's the face that you show to your family and friends, and then there's the face that you only show to yourself. I don't think that it really needs to stop at three. There are a lot of other people, and this is not necessarily, it's not like sociopathic, it's not weird or anything. And I'll circle back to what I said at the beginning of the video. It's like, if I'm going to go to a job interview, I'm going to act different than if I'm going to hang out with my boys at McDonald's. Of course. You know, you're going to dress different, you're going to look different, you're going to say different things, you're going to talk different. Everything's going to be different. And that is good. Being aware of your surroundings is good. Acting based off of that is good. You have to adapt and evolve, okay? Adapt. That's my advice. And it goes much deeper than that, too. It's very important to see if you're doing something wrong, if people aren't liking you, if people, you know, and this is not just for streaming, this is just in general. If people are not liking you, you know, you have to break down and look at yourself objectively and ask yourself why. You know, it's like, the thing is, like, if you go outside and you step in dog shit, you step in dog shit. But if you go outside and every single day you smell dog shit, you gotta check your own shoe. You know, if you're the common denominator, there's a pretty good possibility that you're also the problem. If a lot of people don't like you, it might have something to do with you and not necessarily them. And I feel like whenever we have these conversations, it's very hard to really give people good advice, because you can take it to either extreme, right? You can look at it, this is not a black and white issue, basically. You can look at, oh, you know, everybody that criticizes me is a loser, or everybody that criticizes me is better than me and I'm a loser, right? And the important thing to do is to meet that somewhere in the middle, and to be able to be confident in yourself enough to have the confidence to say, even if I am a loser right now, what am I going to do to make that better? And that's what I try to do, at least, and that's what I think a lot of other people should try to do too. I see a lot of people, you know, they think that these personas and everything are like acting or something like that. Obviously, people are going to do things to make things more entertaining on their stream. Duh, right? I mean, what do you think that, you know, David Letterman or, you know, Jimmy Kimmel or, you know, Conan O'Brien, you know, they just go on there and they act the exact same on their show as they do in real life around their family? Of course not. You know, of course they're going to over-exaggerate things, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a show. It's a performance. That's why. Well, actually, the reason for that is different. But there's a lot of things that in theater and everything where things are a little bit over exaggerated, and it's to make sure that everybody understands what's going on. And I feel like that's okay. There is, of course, a certain degree of fakeness that I'm not a fan of, and I feel like people that do not, who don't even, it's like people that don't even acknowledge this. I don't like that. I really don't. It's like, cause bro, it's like some of these people I've met in real life. It's like, bro, you don't act like this in real life. You're not doing this. You're not acting like that. You're not yelling all the time and all this kind of stuff. At least be true to yourself. Be true to your audience. Just tell them, yeah, of course I'm here to fucking entertain you. Yeah, I'm gonna do some funny, crazy shit to entertain you guys, and that's okay. That's good. And trust me, your audience will thank you for it. So that's my advice. That's what I think that people should do. And of course, you don't want to overdo it as well. If you act like just a crazy, spastic asshole, people probably don't want to have a lot to do with you. But the point that I'm trying to get to is stream personas are not necessarily a bad thing. I feel like it's in a lot of ways a coping mechanism of people that are dealing that don't want to actually be directly harassed or directly disliked, and it's very hard for them to be able to deal with that kind of stuff. And so it's easy to kind of create, as I said, like an effigy or like a target dummy, in WoW, of yourself, a decoy that people can attack instead. And I feel like if you look at yourself in an objective manner and you don't look at every single criticism or attack against you as an attack, but you look at it as an opportunity to improve, that's what you'll do. And if you look at it as an attack, you'll be defensive, and whenever you get attacked, you get wounded. And it's kind of a self-perpetuating cycle, right? And that's why my best advice to people is to be able to be comfortable with yourself, and after you're able to be comfortable with yourself, create a version of yourself that is a performance version, right? And the same as you act different around your friends or at a party, right? And be that person, be fun, be happy, and even if that might make you a little bit uncomfortable, at the end of the day, it is important to be comfortable, but it's also important to entertain. And that's, if you're streaming or broadcasting or making content, that's your priority. So anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents. I wanted to talk about this issue. It's something that a lot of people have brought up a lot, and I've streamed for, I guess, almost 2 years now. So I've made videos for a little bit longer than that. So I've been around the block, and these are my observations. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and if you have anything to contribute in the comments, I'd actually be kind of curious to hear what it is. So that's pretty much it. Peace.